Hello again. Let's begin the press conference for the 29th expedition flight to the space station. First, let us introduce the crew. Anton Shkaplerov, commander and flight engineer for the station. Anatoly Vasilyevich Ivanishin from the Russian space station. He will be a flight engineer on the ISS. NASA astronaut, flight engineer and commander of the crew. Mr. Ivanishin and Antonich from the space station. Sergei Nikolaevich from Roscosmos, Russia, flight engineer and flight engineer for the ISS. A NASA astronaut, a flight engineer and commander. Also, we have head of the corporation, Sergei Krikalev. Now we have already performed the commission for the preparedness of the flight. Okay, better sound. Okay. We have already performed the commission for the flight readiness of the crew. The crew has already performed most of their training. They have performed the training on all of the training stations. And a few days after that, the commission is taken, and the crew begins the next stage of training already on the Baikonur Cosmodrome. Now we've had a little bit of a hold-up with the accident of the Progress cargo vehicle. It is necessary to determine the final causes of this accident. We've had needed to have some additional time to make the decision about the launch. As you know, the launch was slipped back. Now it is planned for the 14th. Based on the results of the commission, the crew is determined to have performed the first stage of training, and the recommendation has been given to prepare the final stage of training on the Baikonur Cosmodrome. As you well know, cosmonauts usually arrive at the Cosmodrome and then begin their final training for the program, the flight program. And the first stage is ready, and now the crew begins the next stage a few days later already on the Cosmodrome. This is planned for the 31st, as far as I understand. Yes, the 31st they will fly to Baikonur, and just trying to answer some of the questions that you may have. What has the crew been doing all this time? Since the launch of the vehicle was slipped a little bit, and since there was a slight extension of the crew on board that is on board right now, but it's just a few days, just a week. So the amount of time that the crews will be together has decreased. And so we've had some extra time right now before the crew arrives to Baikonur, and the crew has been preparing for the handover because they will have a little bit less time of the handover right on station. So as a result, we've added additional training for the handover. They've been speaking with the crews that have been already on station, the previous crews that were there, to get a better picture, better understanding of how the handover is going to happen. But this is nothing new. We've had this shortened period of handover several times over the last few days, and also I have participated several times in a short handover period of just a few days. And so in this case, the crew has been prepared even better for the handover while still on the ground. So these are just some general words. If you have more specific questions, please go ahead. Thank you. So, gentlemen, first of all, I want to let you know that I want to congratulate you with this flight, that you are ready to go. And I know there are some changes. And congratulations that everything went well. And here's the traditional question about the talisman. What are you taking with us? And if your friends and family will be there to send you off. Yes, there is a tradition. We're all taking small talismans with us. I'm taking a little toy that my little daughter gave me. It will play the role of a zero gravity indicator. We'll hang it on a small string in the habitation module, and then after the launch, once we reach space in about 10 minutes, once this little toy starts flying, it will tell us that we have reached zero gravity. We are in space. This is a good luck charm to show that the launch for the launch to go safe. This is a small toy. It's like a small little birdie. It's kind of a cute little thing. My daughter really loved it, and so she asked me to take it along with me to space, and of course to bring it back to her. And what else are you taking? I also had the opportunity to take a small icon that I was given in Sevastopol. This is the place where there's the Vladimir Cathedral. It's a special place because based on folklore, in the Orthodox faith, the ruler was actually Christian there. The ruler's name is Vladimir. So you can say that that was the birthplace of our Orthodox faith. And the priest in charge of this cathedral, he gave me personally the icon so that the icon would bless our trip, it would bless our launch, and I will also be bringing the icon back. Thank you very much. Well, I think Anatoly won't mind if we use if we use his zero gravity indicator, because I haven't had any toys in a while. My son is pretty old, and all the toys that he's used, they're pretty heavy, so I won't be able to use them. As for me, I'm taking just some pictures, some images that I'll be taking along. I think this is a very good tradition that you've had. We've done this on the shuttle as well.
I will have with me some photographs of my family and friends, and a few flags, small flags, emblems from the Coast Guard, for example, and I think all of these are really important for us to stay connected and remember all the folks that are here on the Earth that are supporting us during the mission. It's a physical representation of those that we love and care about, and a great place to put a lot of those things are on the walls of the crew quarters or the cayutes.
Well, I just want to add that this toy is not just an indicator of zero gravity, but also of an overload. Because I don't know if you noticed, as the toy swings, you can tell by the frequency of the swings whether there's an overload. For example, between the switch from one stage of flight to the second stage flight, the first information that you get is to see how the vehicle is doing based on what the motion of the little toy is telling you. Since this launch is happening a bit later in November, the one that was initially planned for November will be happening in December. These gentlemen will be flying alone, just a 3-person crew, until mid-December, when the second crew will arrive. So the plan to return back to a 6-person crew is by mid-December. And so we had a little bit of a slip in a lot of our plans, but since they're launching a bit later, the flight will also be a little bit shorter to get back to the standard flight program plan. So I have a question about the plans for all of the science experiments that are planned for you. What do you think is the most interesting experiment planned for you? Well, yes, there are a lot of experiments, about 50 experiments per crew member, because there's about 200 experiments on station. I think one of the most interesting for me will be an experiment called Chibis. This will be performed on the Progress that will be docked to the station. Prior to being burned as it enters the atmosphere, there will be a special container which will contain a satellite, which is called, which is the experiment Chibis. So after undocking, the Progress vehicle will be about 500 kilometers away from station at a point at which this container with the satellite inside will be launched away from the shuttle. It will orbit around the Earth as the Progress moves into Earth. This is only just the second type of this experiment. The first experiment, similar to this, was much smaller, so I think this will be a lot more interesting. Our task will be to install very carefully the experiment so that the docking and undocking of the Progress would go nominally.
And we've got, I think we've already said, we've got several hundred experiments that'll be done during our time on board space station. For me, some of the most interesting, although not necessarily the most enjoyable, because often we're the subjects for them, but some of the most interesting are the ones that study how human beings adapt to spaceflight. And these experiments take a global look at how the human organism changes in space. A lot of those changes are very similar to some of the changes that people experience here on planet Earth during the normal aging process. So to me, these represent ways that we can get direct benefit from the space station that helps people here on Earth, but also from the perspective of an astronaut or cosmonaut, it also represents a way that we can make spaceflight safer so that we can become truly a spacefaring people.
For two of you, this is your first flight. All kids dream of being pilots. What about you? Have you ever dreamed about being a cosmonaut before? Well, I think that it's not something that I've dreamed about particularly. I see it as an important step in our career, an important step in our growth. And when I look back, I've been coming to this stage in my career for a long time. But I think that once I see Earth from the space station for the first time, then I will really feel this accomplishment. I'll understand how important it is. As for me, I don't want to disappoint everyone, but I have dreamed of being a pilot all my life. I remember a moment when I was in about 10th grade. We had some class. I think it had to do with the psychology of family life, and there we had couples, a boy and a girl, and they had to develop a family. And all of my classmates said what was expected of them. They said that they're going to be engineers, and I said, well, I'm going to be a cosmonaut. And we were very successful because as my pretend family, because I was a cosmonaut that was never at home. Thank you very much. We would like to invite Mr. Nikolai Borisovich from the Federation of Cosmonautics. He has brought two gifts for the two cosmonauts flying for the first time. First of all, I'd like to congratulate you on behalf of the President of the Federation of Cosmonauts of Russia, Mr. Kovalenko, for the completion of the training for the upcoming flight. And in accordance with the International Flight Organization FAIE, all crew members who are getting ready for their first flight, they are to receive a special identification card, an international identification card. And these were prepared for the two who are to fly, Anton Shkaplerov and Anatoly Ivanishin. These two gentlemen are getting ready for their first flight, and so I'd like to give these two certifications for them. Number 135 for Anton Shkaplerov and 136 for Anatoly Ivanishin. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. They will take these IDs with them, and they will take them with them on all subsequent flights as well. I'd like to note that this certification has international immunity. It is in 5 languages written. There is a statement in 5 languages on the last page with a request to provide all sorts of support to the owner of the certification. And I would just like to say that I will be supporting you from down here, from 450 kilometers below your space station. And just to add on to what the crew will be taking with them, this is actually the only identification that the crew members will be taking with them to flight. I also received such a certification a long time ago before my first flight, and 6 times it's come with me. So I hope that they will also take it along, and there will be a long history written up in those. Thank you. Next question.
You to fly on this flight, particularly, and if anything, the crash of the Progress showed the continuing risks of flying to space. Why is it worth the risk to become a spacefaring people, like you said?
I think that we've learned something recently, and we've relearned this lesson many times over the years, and that is that spaceflight is very difficult. It's one of the hardest things that human beings have ever tried to do, and it's going to continue to be that way for quite a long time to come. But I really believe that it's humanity's destiny to fly in space. This is what we're meant to do, and it's by overcoming the challenges that we have that the space program gets safer. The Soyuz rockets will be safer than they've ever been. The space shuttle, after our experiences with Challenger and then with Columbia, became safer than they had ever been before. And with each of these things, we make spaceflight in general safer. And that's a normal process, and it's a good opportunity for us to work together, all the partners of Space Station, as human beings in this great endeavor. So in general, right now, I think we've got a great opportunity to build a whole host of new vehicles that will get us to space in many different ways. I believe that we'll continue to explore space, and we'll do it better and better, and we'll do it together. And I'm just delighted to have a chance to fly with these great crew members and friends, and to help continue the voyage that we've all set out on in spaceflight. So human beings should do this. We will do this. We'll do it better and better. And at the risk of being too long-winded here, let me just say one thing as an example, a concrete example about how we learned from this lesson and actually made things better. Ordinarily, we have 2 months or 4 months of handover time on orbit. This time we have maybe 5 days. But in fact, because of the situation, that handover time has already begun. We have spent the last 6 weeks training, working with the crew on board Space Station through video conferences, through phone calls, through downlink video. So we, in essence, I think, are better prepared now than we probably would have been had we had the limited time that we ordinarily have on board to work together. We, Anton and Anatoly, are talking with Sergei a couple of times a day, and I'm also working with Mike and Satoshi, learning about the U.S. segment systems. And I've got dozens of hours of videotape that show me just how to operate those.
I have another question for Daniel. So you're flying on the Soyuz for the first time. as opposed to the shuttle. What are the similarities and the differences between the shuttle and the Soyuz?
To me, the Soyuz is like a sports car, where the shuttle is like an 18-wheeler, and I'm very much looking forward to the ride uphill on the Soyuz. And I think it'll be maybe a little bit, there'll be less room to move about in on board Soyuz before we dock. But I have, since I began my career with NASA, have always wanted to fly on a rocket, in a small vehicle like the Soyuz. So I'm very much looking forward to it, and that hasn't changed a bit in light of recent events over the past couple of months. I'm very much excited about doing this.
Во время вашего полета у Международной космической станции будет маленький юбилей.
During your flight on the ISS, there will be a small anniversary.
Тысячный свой виток.
The ISS will have the 75,000th orbit around Earth. How are you planning to celebrate this? Well, I think we'll celebrate in our own little space way. Maybe we'll have a family gathering around the table. We'll have some tea. We'll open up our bonus containers, have some special food, have a feast. We'll talk about it. And of course, we'll try to send our hellos to those who are on the ground, who are continuing to support station from the ground, who continue the cosmonaut training. We'll send our best to the cosmonauts who have already been there. Thank you very much. I just want to add that you're probably wondering what has been going on these past weeks. The crew members have been cosmonauts for a long time. They've been undergoing training for a long time, and so they are fully ready. And so it is hard to say what nuance specifically makes the difference. It may be that it's the training that helps in flight. It may be just an unofficial conversation over tea that information ends up being more important on the flight. But I want to stress that this is nominal training, and they're fully prepared. And what is going on right now is additional training, but they're not overloaded in any way. There's been a lot said about the crew who is on station. You've been speaking a lot with the crew. What are the advices that they're giving you? Because they've had a lot of experience on station. And if you can answer the question that I've already asked, why is it worth risking? Why is it worth having a space flight? What does that mean to you? I just again want to stress that we are very closely training with a crew that is already on board. They give us a lot of very important, valuable advice, starting from the very basic household questions like how to prepare food, how to get used to zero gravity. And it's important to speak with them because they can provide this information since they've gone through it themselves. And yes, there is a lot of risk involved. But in the training, we know that there are a lot of off-nominal situations that may occur, and we've prepared for them. Yes, there are difficulties, there are complications in what we do, but fortunately it's a pretty rare thing that happens, and so I think we need to continue to move forward. And we need to do everything we can to make our flight a success. Yeah, I'd like to thank all of the people present for their good questions, and the cosmonauts and astronauts for their answers. Thank you so much. Okay, now we can do some traditional photographs. Okay, handshake as always, traditional handshake. Thank you.
А что вверх ногами держишь, Антон? Почему? Нет, Антон. Все, пошли. Спасибо большое.
Okay, thank you.
Нормально?
Right?
Yeah, excellent.
So maybe 15, 20 minutes?
Oh, yeah. Not more. Как твоя охрана? Бодигард? Как будто я в милицию уже велосипед.
Сейчас посидеть, а там пройдете, потом вас проводят.
Нет, мы были в апреле, в марте.
У меня это коробит. Здесь место для прохода есть. Так.
This is one of the great traditions that we typically do before missions here. Every cosmonaut, every astronaut that flies aboard Soyuz will come here and visit Red Square and basically just pay tribute to the folks who kind of laid the foundations of the Russian space program. Yuri Gagarin, Sergei Korolev, and the others who kind of paved the way for the Russian program here. So it's one of a lot of very neat traditions. We've got many on that we also do in America, the United States, but this is kind of special, a lot of history here. So.
Чуть-чуть. Пожалуйста, внимание. Ты тогда вот кепку как-то это, в другую руку и за спину. Да.
Или так.
Пожалуйста, внимание.
Okay, smile for the camera.
Все, вот так, будут все вместе, желающие.
Okay, everyone together.
Царь колокол. Bell. Царь bell.
Yeah, there was a big fire.
Все, замечательно. Пожалуйста,
А мальчик с кепкой.
так, два экипажа вместе.
Да, вот.
Ну, два варианта развития событий. Либо идем назад к автобусу, либо еще на Соборной площади будем фотографироваться.
Get back to the bus or on the Bell Square. Let's go back to the bus.
So again, here we are touring some famous sites inside the Kremlin. Red Square, which we were just at, that's right outside the Kremlin Wall, and now we're inside. And this is the Tsar's Cannon, and we were just at the Tsar's Bell. So again, a lot of history, and something that traditionally all the crews will come and visit just before, about a week before you head down the launch. So 7 days from now, we plan to be on our way to Baikonur, and then shortly thereafter on our way to the space station. A little bit later than we planned, but happy to be there just the same. Aren't leather, but warm.
Поездка в